you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is domestic violence in Nashville, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about domestic violence in Nashville Ms. Sparkle Johnson and Ms. Tiffany Hawkins. And of course, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Hawkins, let me welcome the two of you to the show this morning.
Thank you.
And to tell you how delighted we are to have you with us and to recognize that the topic that we're going to deal with this morning is not only domestic violence in Nashville, but when we talk about domestic violence, we're generally talking about that kind of violence everywhere, because not only do you find domestic violence in Nashville, but we want to talk about Nashville specifically because we're from Nashville.
Yes.
And we want people to understand how we do things locally. But before we get into that topic, Ms. Sparkle Johnson, let's see if we can have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences. And Ms. Hawkins will give the same information after you give us that information. And then we'll be out of the first segment, and then we can go into that second segment, which will be 8 minutes, and we'll have an opportunity to deal with domestic violence in Nashville. So let's do it from that perspective.
Okay. Of course, my name is Sparkle Johnson. I'm 34 years old. I grew up in North Nashville. I graduated from Hillsborough High School. And I'm actually set to start my undergrad at TSU in August on a scholarship. And so I'm excited about that. I started my own nonprofit for domestic violence victims, men and women, 2 years ago in 2017. And it's called Super Women, Inc., and I am a 3-year survivor of domestic violence.
Very good. Now, Ms. Hawkins.
My name is Tiffany Hawkins. I am also a survivor. I started Victims to Victory, V2V, I think it was about 2012, because it was like I was seeing my reflection in other women that was going through it. So he convicted me into going in to actually reaching out and helping. Like I said, both men and women, and I specialize in working with our young girls.
Mm-hmm. And so we can say that there's a real need for such information for not only the city of Nashville, but everybody ought to know more about what goes on when we talk about domestic violence. What would you say in reference to domestic violence, Ms. Johnson, in describing that to any individual who might be looking in this morning?
Well, first, what me and my organization, along with Ms. Hawkins' organization does, we want to help prevent it. We want people to recognize the red flags before it gets to that point, because once it gets to that point, it's hard to get out of, and sometimes people don't get out alive. Especially with young girls, it's an epidemic. It's almost like it's cute. If he don't love me, he don't love me, he don't hit me. And they associating the two, and it's distorted mindset. I don't know where this came from, but they thinking he has to hit me to prove that he loved me. He don't want to let me go, but that's dangerous. So, and the epidemic, we say in Nashville, because just like anywhere, it starts at home. So we want to take care of home first.
Ms. Watkins?
Well, bouncing off of what Sparkle said, it is an epidemic, and it does start with he has to hit me to prove that he loved me. But when you think about it, as children, when you're in the kindergarten, how do a little girl, a little boy show that they like that person? You know, they hit them. And it's something that they're taught through generations. That's how you get that attention for someone you like, is to put hands on them. So what they call it, a small, playful bat comes to a hard smack. So what we need to do is show the signs, let them be able to recognize them. And once we can help them recognize them, we can give them the resource to help them through it. But they have to see the signs. They have to see for themselves. It's not a move that they can do because we want them to, or their children need them to, or their family need them to. So we have to help them see the signs and want to change.
And so both of you have some information that you can leave with us this morning dealing with this as an issue, and that it might have some impact upon helping to mediate domestic violence. Is that what we're saying? Is that the purpose of this show this morning?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. We want to bring awareness, get the information out, let them know that there's resources, because when you're in that situation, you think you're alone. You don't want to be judged. You hear so many times people say, well, why did she stay there? I don't know why she put up with it. Well, if you're not me, you can't tell me how it feels to walk in my shoes. It's a whole uphill battle trying to get out of that box that you find yourself in.
And so you find it to be quite prevalent in Nashville, and so you think that such a show that we're doing now can have some impact in terms of helping to mediate domestic violence.
Yes.
And so what we'll do, we'll take our first commercial break, and then we'll get back and talk about some other aspects of this issue. We'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.